That's it. We're live.
We're live?
We're live.
Hello.
We are.
I see 17 people waiting. Wow, 17 people.
Yeah.
Good day, everybody. Good day. Welcome. Amira, thank you for the love.
We appreciate it.
Amira is
It's
a
good to see
long-time
you.
student. Good to see everybody. Folks, shoot in the chat where you're calling in from or tuning in from, because we're calling in technically. Cool. Hey, Ed.
Hi, Jenny. Ed.
Jenny. All right. We'll give it a few seconds, everybody, as people are rolling in. All right, it's become 11 people. Damn. Clearly not a good enough intro. San Francisco. Folks, San Francisco again. Hello. There you go, watching from DC. Hello, USA, Team USA. Hey, Dean. Chicago. We're an American squad tuning in. Naveen, homeboy, welcome. I'm from India too. I'm right here. Pim and Alinor, where are you two calling in from?
From the Netherlands. Actually, a place called The Hague near Amsterdam, which probably everybody knows.
I'm in London town. Not too far from Pim, actually.
There we go. So far, 12 people in, and we can see that it's already an international community from India to USA to London, Amsterdam. And that's what all of you will notice about Ultraspeaking. If you are in this journey right now, that it's a very, very... Bianca, tuning in from Jamaica. Good to see you, Bianca. Good to see you. Very, very good speaker. We had the pleasure of having Bianca in a previous cohort of ours, and very powerful speaker. We'll probably ask Bianca to shoot some thoughts from fundamentals in the chat later on as well. All right, let's get started. All right, folks, a warm welcome to our live stream. Now, the live stream is titled From Student to Coach, and it's not because we're the most good-looking coaches at Ultraspeaking, it's because we're the most recent coaches at Ultraspeaking. We have all had the privilege of being trained and becoming a coach here at Ultraspeaking last year in around mid-2021. And we all actually even took the course Ultraspeaking Fundamentals last year. So this is going to be about our entire journey of how we started as an Ultraspeaking student and then how we became a coach through that journey. And how, it's all going in together because a lot of you are here to find out about Ultraspeaking. It's probably your first time over here. And how is the fundamentals course? What is Ultraspeaking daily trainings? What is Ultraspeaking to begin with? And that's what we're here to share, our journey and what the entire fundamentals journey was like and how it impacted us to become a coach later on and serve this community that we so love. And we're going to talk about that the entire live stream. After that, we're going to be moving into some students that have taken the recent fundamentals program, and they're going to be sharing their insights, if they loved it or they hated it, what they have to contribute about that. And we'll give you a conclusion with a brief summary of what Ultraspeaking is all about and what Ultraspeaking fundamentals is all about. And if you have any questions throughout, please shoot it in the chat. We are reading them in real time, and they do distract me, but that's even better because we like thinking on the fly here. Cool. Hey, Islam from Daily Trainings. Welcome. Good to have you here. All right. So to introduce myself, my name is Aman. I am originally from India, and I stumbled upon my Ultraspeaking journey, or I stumbled upon Ultraspeaking in the early days of 2021 when I was chilling in this very house in India. And I had the intentions of becoming an online content creator. I was thinking about it the entire time of, oh my God, I feel confident in my speaking, but there's something missing. And I never understood what it was. So then I found this course, and without thinking, it was a very hefty decision for me because I never thought of spending money on an online course before. But for some reason, I decided to do it for Ultraspeaking. And throughout that journey, we all became a coach, but we're going to talk about our individual journey, and I will kind of be moderating this, and you can ask us questions as well throughout the journey. So I want to take us back to that moment, Coach Pim and Coach Alienor. The the two of you pressed the purchase button, or the day you decided that you're going to take Ultraspeaking fundamentals, who were you as an individual? What made you decide that I'm going to invest 30 days of my time and a hell of a lot of money for some people into a course like this? And why did you make that decision?
So at the time, I was like wondering whether or not to enroll in fundamentals. I was already like a huge fan of Ultraspeaking at that time. I'd been like I'd have like 10 sessions or so with one-on-one sessions with an Ultraspeaking coach, Emmy, at that time, and that really, like, from the first lesson on, got me hooked into all this stuff. So for me, it was pretty much like when fundamentals came by, it was pretty much a no-brainer to actually get into that. The reason I decided to get public speaking lessons was actually not so much about public speaking in the beginning for me, not so much about like reaching speaking in front of a lot of people. It was for me like a way to improve my English, because I was really uncomfortable in English at that point. And as a contrast, like people around me, my close friends and roommates and stuff like that, were all like really comfortable and fluent in English. So there were always these experiences for me where like they had international friends coming over, and I would just like totally shy away and like I don't know, maybe even retreat to my room because I just wasn't feeling comfortable participating in the conversation. So I always thought of it like, okay, this is going to be a really dreadful journey at some point for me to get comfortable in this, because I've waited for so long. But then I got into this one-on-one session with Emmy, Ultraspeaking coach at that point. And it was all just games. It was all just play. It was all just like, you don't have to prepare, just show up for this, just play a couple of games and just speak. And I was objecting of like, oh, my English isn't so good, and so yeah, I've like trouble with the games and stuff like that. And she was from the first second like, no, your English is perfect. It's like more than good enough for what we're doing here. And at that point, I discovered that it was all way more like mindset, confidence, just flipping a switch of like just speaking in English thing for me, that for me changed everything in how comfortable I was in English. So at that point, at the point I was getting more comfortable in that stuff, I was also getting hooked with like the public speaking thing in general, because I saw that everything was around that was going so much easier. So then it was like, yeah, of course, I'm going into fundamentals. And that opened up a lot more. Well, what about you, Alienor?
Yeah, my journey is similar to you in that I knew as soon as I saw fundamentals that it was a no-brainer that I wanted to take it, but different in terms of the reasons why I took Ultraspeaking and why I started in the first place. I signed up for fundamentals on the day that I heard about Ultraspeaking. So I think it was during lockdown. I was watching a YouTube live stream, and Tristan and Michael were coaching someone on the live stream. And I saw the two of them. I saw the game. They were playing triple step. And I was like, I need this in my life right now. Like, I will sell my left arm to have this in my life, because I was in a place in my life where I was getting more responsibility at work. I was being asked to lead meetings with clients. I was being asked to present things. And I remember this one meeting in particular where I was supposed to be leading it. I was supposed to be running it. It was two clients, me and the CEO of my company. And I don't think I said a word all meeting. I said, hello, hi, welcome to this meeting at the beginning, I think. And that was pretty much it from there. And at the end, I remember my CEO said to me, he said, you're doing good, but you might want to ask some more questions. You might want to speak up a little bit in meetings so that clients know that you're there and you're listening. And it was, I think, in the same week that I saw this YouTube live stream. And I just was instantly convinced, not only by the method that they were using, the games and the way and the fun that it looked, but also by the energy that Tristan and Michael had. Just watching the two of them, the way they coached, the way they spoke, the way they carried themselves, I was so hooked that I pressed on the link and I went straight. And I was lucky it was enrollment week. and there was still a spot left. And I can't tell you what possessed me to spend all that money on something that I just found off the internet. It was I never do things like that. It was such a weird impulse, but I think it was just because of what I saw in both the games and in the energy they had. And I was like, I want that instantly. And so I signed up for the course.
Amazing. Even though I've heard that story multiple times from them, it still gives me deep warmth inside to see where they are today. And I know there's a lot of alum on the live stream right now. Please shoot some of your experiences in the chat of what your Ultraspeaking journey was like when you were thinking of pressing that purchase button. It might give others inspiration as well. Because just like Pim, a lot of students come in saying that English is my second language. I'm not comfortable in English. And we have realized that Pim is an example in front of you whose English is perfectly fine. And it was like this from day one. But how do we become comfortable in that very moment? And the same with Alienor. A lot of people are in the corporate world thinking, I am unable to speak in meetings. I hate giving presentations. And for me, Ultraspeaking was more about authenticity, being myself, trusting myself. When I joined, I already considered myself a very good speaker. But in the course, I instantly realized that I wasn't feeling what I was saying. I did not trust myself when I was speaking as much. I did not have that belief in speaking. So the instant difference I noticed is the power of trusting myself, knowing that what I have to share is valuable, and becoming even more confident in my speaking as I was going through that journey. And I'd love to hear from Pim and Alienor, what was it for the two of you as well what was that instant shift that Ultraspeaking Fundamentals gave you to once you took the course, or even midway through the course? What did you start noticing in your speaking?
I think the first thing that happened, it wasn't something that I noticed. It was the first thing that happened, was the first day we showed up and we started playing rapid fire analogies. And I was scared of this game. It looks really scary. It's 2 words and you've got 4 seconds or so to fit something in, come up with something and say it with confidence and say it well. And everyone else was doing a really good job. And it was that first rep, I think I did, the first time I'd ever played it in front of anyone. And I got good feedback. And all that day in the pod, maybe that was Coach Mark's design to get our confidence up, I got good feedback. So the first shift for me was not a feeling. It was actually just an amazing revelation that I wasn't as terrible at speaking as I thought I was. What was it for you, Pim?
I think like one of the biggest shifts that I had seen in like very much in the beginning was that right before joining Fundamentals, I think even before I did like the one-on-one speaking lessons for Ultraspeaking, there was this moment where I was still enrolled in college at that time, and there was this moment or at university, there was this moment where I was in a like seminar group with maybe 7 other people and the professor, and we all had to present a little bit about like what we were going to write about for some essay. And it was already at the start of lockdown, so we were all on Zoom. And I was just so nervous. It was in English. I was just so nervous to like even just speak for 30 seconds or 60 seconds about what I was going to write about. I knew what I was going to write about, but I like explaining it. I was just so nervous about it and feeling awkward about it that I typed in the chat when it was my turn, "Oh, sorry, I can't. My mic is broken." Like, oh, it's so weird and a bit cringe when I think about it. It's like, but also endearing. Like I was so afraid of speaking up that I pretended like my mic was broken. And pretty quickly after that, I got like the Ultraspeaking stuff and discovered the point of like, wow, it really doesn't matter that my English isn't that good, because like it wasn't. I was pretty like mediocre or bad, whatever what you want to say in English at that point, but it was sufficient. And I didn't realize that. Like little children have like way less vocabulary and way less range in their speaking than I did at that point. But they really don't care. Like, they just speak, and they're constantly making mistakes all the time, saying weird stuff, making weird sentence constructions. They don't care. And I had like way more vocabulary, way more knowledge about grammar and all that stuff, and I cared a lot about it. So very much in the beginning, Ultraspeaking showed me like, don't focus so much on that. Focus more on having fun in speaking, and focus more on like just feeling into it more instead of constantly thinking about it and constantly analyzing. So just coming into a speaking flow instead of trying to get to perfection. And above all, make plenty of mistakes. Really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So pretty quickly after that, while doing these sessions and while I was enrolled in fundamentals, there was like a time when I was going into breakout rooms with some university group again with my peer students, and someone had to be the host of the group. And for me, it was like this was weeks after that previous moment I described. It was like so obvious to me that I was going to be the host, and that I was going to do the presentation, and that I was going to do all the speaking and all that stuff. It was like, it wasn't even a question in my mind. I wasn't trying to prove anything. It just switched in my identity of like, yeah, I'm doing this public speaking thing, improving thing now. So chances like that, I'll take them. So that was the switch.
We have one of our great coaches, Coach Santosh, who was showing up to Ultraspeaking for 1 year like this, with his camera completely off. He showed up for 1 entire year with his camera off, but he showed up every day. And there are people like Coach Santosh at the time was right now. So I'd like to ask you too, what would you tell a student thinking of taking fundamentals right now? Obviously, we have come a long way as well. We're coaches now. We're practicing on very advanced territory when it comes to our speaking. But what can you share with someone? You shared your story. What would you share with someone if they were in your place back then right now? Because I feel some people tuning in might be like that, not only for a student, but even perhaps for, thinking about taking leadership roles in their own way going forward, as we might have experienced in our own life right now.
I think I'd say the journey is not as long as it seems. I had this notion in my head that it was going to take me years to improve my speaking, that it was something that was going to be a lifetime pain for me, a lifetime source of anguish and anxiety and exhaustion and long days. And so I was talking about this with someone the other day, and we were saying that the fundamentals course not only helps you with your confidence and your musicality and your skill set, your pausing, your breathing, your storytelling, but it also helps you to become comfortable in your skin. And so I was saying, why don't we have that on our website? A course that says you become comfortable in your skin. I would sign up for that immediately. And it's because, I wouldn't believe it. If someone was selling me a course that said it'll make you more comfortable in your skin, I would never pay money for that. I'd be like, that's immediately a scam. I'm not going there. Nothing can do that to you in 5 weeks. It's not possible. That's what the course did for me. That is genuinely what the course did for me, aside from all the speaking and all the skill set, which was really, really valuable. The most important thing was this sense of self that I gained, this confidence that I gained in myself. So I would say to someone who's thinking about fundamentals but not sure whether they're going to get enough value out of the course, dare to believe that you can change that quickly. Why not you? right? Why not this progress that you're hearing everyone else make? I know it feels scary. I know, because I remember what it felt like on the first day, and I remember what it felt like on the second day and the third day, and all the way up until 5 weeks. I remember what it felt like to be called on when Tristan said, "Hey, Alienor, do you want to demo this game?" Whoa, that was terrifying, but it's worth it. It's worth it. That's what I would say.
I really like that point about how quick this breakthrough and everything can be, because basically for me it was at like this at least, and I've seen this for to be true for a lot of students. Basically, you only need to make it to the point, or maybe 2 points. You only make it at one to the point where you see like, this is a skill and I can actually train it, which you pretty quickly see, because we have all these games designed and you just go into games and they're, well, we gamified speaking, so you're noticeably making significant progress in a short amount of time. So you see like, this is actually pretty fun to do, and this is I've made actual progress and I can see that. So that's a huge point at the beginning. And the second point, and I was going to that point earlier, like if you make it to the point, when I made it to the point where I noticed like, oh, this is like a skill to be trained, and it's all play. It's all literally, I'm just playing around here behind my computer. I'm enjoying the process of leveling up my public speaking. Or at least I noticed that I can enjoy parts of it. Like at least I noticed that I enjoyed this aspect of the game. So there it was for me like, okay, this opens up a lot. I can finally see how this like knotted together this like weird dreadful thing that I always saw in front of me of like, if I need to improve my public speaking, like I don't know how to do that. I'm not the type of person for that. I saw how the road of that would be, I won't say all play, but like basically lead to a lot of play, and in the play a lot of uncomfortable situations that it's fun to break through, but like also a lot of that. That was the moment for me where it clicked like, oh, okay. I am going to stay on this journey, and this is going to be something that I can keep leveling up in. And what I'm also thinking about, like, there were already a lot of occasions for me where I basically was at the level of a super comfortable speaker, but not in front of like strangers or not in front of my classmates. I was only with my best friends. And maybe it was with strangers when I was like, um, I was a I was a little tipsy, or I drank a couple of beers. Like I knew that it would be in the realm of possibilities for me to already be comfortable in confidence and in speaking, but I didn't know I could also get there without alcohol or while being with strangers. So like realizations like that was pretty fun for me. Like, oh, I'm actually getting closer to that in a pretty healthy state of mind. So that was pretty fun.
Lovely, lovely. Welcome to the booze cruise, Pim. That was awesome. Well, we're getting asked a few questions right here in the chat right now about what it was like to become a coach. How do I become a coach? Questions like this. Before we get there, what was the journey like? So we all will speak of our process of how we became a coach and what that went through. How did fundamentals contribute? A lot of you have taken fundamentals in the chat as well. What are the learnings that you take from fundamentals that have contributed to your coaching? What was the character in you that was kind of when attending daily trainings, when in the final week of fundamentals? At least for me, I started already feeling a little bit like a coach. Inside, I thought, wow, this is really cool because I'm changing. And because I can notice a change in myself, something that I was experiencing so much pain in, my curses have now become my gifts. I can teach it. I can teach it to people that are in the same situation as me. So what was that like for you before the option of even becoming a coach came in front of you? Because I remember myself being on the journey of being a coach before the opportunity even presented itself.
Hmm. I think there was a moment in my own fundamentals. Okay, it's actually also a tiny bit of when I was coaching already, but let me tell you about this. There was a moment in my own fundamentals where I noticed where I fell in love with Ultraspeaking for like the 10th time. It was when Tristan or Michael was talking about like we don't care so much about like making you a public speaker. Like we don't want to make you craft you into this cool public speaker with the public speaking voice and like the public speaking presence and stuff like that. We want to make you more you. And I always remember that because at some point when I was coaching, I think my first fundamentals, I had that realization at some point, and I was just looking across the Zoom room, like looking at all the people, and they were like maybe doing main room speeches or something like that, and it was all like, oh wow, we're opening up everyone's personality instead of like crafting them into the thing, the entity that we want to have them, like this public speaking archetype. We're like opening up everyone individually, which made me really interested in everyone individually, because it was like, oh, they all have this like personal struggles they bring, and these they all have their own backstory, and they all have their own vision of what they want to be, and person that they're growing into. So I saw that for myself to be true in my own fundamentals, and then I saw it for students to be true. So that was kind of where I was like, I want to see more of this in more people. And then I felt like a coach. It was like I don't care about like coaching people into this public speaker, but I really want to see more of what people can be of themselves.
Yeah, I love what you say about ultra speaking is about making you become more like you, which is exactly what it did for me. It's exactly what it did for me. Part of the reason I became a coach, I think, was because I wanted to keep challenging myself. I felt like I got to the end of fundamentals. It had changed me so much. And I wanted to start leading a daily training. And so I started leading a daily training. And that was, whoa, another step up. It was scary the first time. And I was looking for places to have that level of fear, that level of anxiety. And I felt like doing something like applying for coaching was definitely in that wheelhouse of being a level of fear. I remember that Pim actually had to coax me into it. He sent me a message saying, "Are you applying to be a coach?" And I said, "Yeah, maybe, but I'm a little bit scared." And his reply was just, "What are you afraid of?" And in reading that question, I was like, oh, well, when you put it that way, it's very hard to justify my fear. I've got to apply for it now. So one part of my journey, I think, was overcoming fear. For me personally, I just wanted to keep going and going and going on this journey and leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. But there's another part of it that I think is more important and still drives me so much today. It's the difference that I felt in myself over the course of that fundamentals. Not only in speaking or in work, that was almost irrelevant, right? My ability to then speak up in a meeting happened magically, but it wasn't the only thing. It was the way that I carried myself, the way that I spoke to my friends, the way that I walked into a shop with just a bit more pizzazz, the way that I chatted with you guys, the way that I was able to chat to Pim and over LinkedIn and not be like, oh my gosh, it's a new person, this is terrifying. That freedom was amazing. And it's so unfair to me that so many people never get to feel that freedom. So many clients that I see who come in describing the same fear that I felt a year ago. And I know that I know that fundamentals and ultra speaking holds a really easy and fun and enjoyable solution to this, that it's possible to be yourself, your most self, wherever you are, even live on YouTube. It's totally 100% possible. And knowing that knowledge, I feel like I have to give that to everyone else, that it's not fair that so many people struggle with speaking when it's so possible to just not. So that's what drove me to become a coach above everything else.
Step one of becoming a coach, folks, is simply showing up. At least for me, every student that has shown up in fundamentals is capable of being a coach. And we saw that in every other student. But beyond that, which something that all of us had in common, in fact, without even knowing each other, we all encourage each other a lot to become a coach throughout the journey. I would run into Pim in daily trainings, and then I decided I'm going to run a daily training because taking fundamentals made me feel amazing. I would ditch going out with my best friends. Hell, I even canceled a date on a girl I liked because I wanted to show up to fundamentals. I'm like, whoa, this is new. Something's different over here. And eventually was contributing to the community, becoming a better speaker ourselves when we were going forward. And then suddenly everyone gets an email saying Ultraspeaking is looking for coaches right now, and there's an application process. And we had a bunch of stuff to do, and it was actually a very competitive process. So right now there might be a time in the future, we don't know when we're going to open up for another round of coaches, and who knows when that will come, because it's very hard to train a coach and it requires a lot of effort that goes in. We were given a lot of attention throughout that entire process to become a coach and go through that entire journey. But what was common is that we all were showing up consistently after fundamentals got over, and we were working on our own speaking. But let's talk about what happened after we applied, and then all of us got that shocking message that, oh, we're a coach. Damn. How did that happen? I was in my own journey when the application came. I was very nervous to record. I had imposter syndrome. Who am I to give someone feedback? Who am I to give someone advice? I had to ask someone that I already knew and I'd played Ultraspeaking games with, so I could feel comfortable even recording a clip of me coaching them. But then there's something that changed. We all became coaches. But what do you think stands out because three of us had an incredible journey as we were first brought on to become coaches, and we were trained with so much love, care, and we also got slapped in the face 1,000 times because of all the errors we made. But what was the journey like for us? What do you think stood out for being an exceptional coach and actually elevating our level of coaching and speaking throughout that journey?
Yeah, so before we applied as a coach, or when we started our coach training, Aman?
Sorry.
I don't know. You're gonna have to wing it, Pim. You're gonna have to guess. Just answer whatever question you had.
This question is about when both. So you can answer it in either way, right? So it's before coach training had started. We were already in daily trainings together. We were kind of practicing on our own. But then when we were coaches, what were things that stood out to you apart from coach training? What were the things that you all were doing on the side apart from only the coach training sessions that we had?
Okay, so from the beginning, there was a time where I didn't know both of you, where we like vaguely knew each other, and then we suddenly were coaches together. So we were like in this WhatsApp group together, and I remember, I don't know, after the first session or so, like sharing a list of like 20 ideas how we could become better in how we could accelerate our progress in the coach journey. So for me, it was like in the beginning, very much all stuff like that of like, okay, maybe we can like write about it, share notes, maybe we can like record videos, coach each other, or record video lessons, record YouTube lessons, record like yada yada yada, all stuff like that. And very much what stands out for me was like that kind of relentless experimentation that we did with the three of us in coaching each other. We were like taking kind of, we called it like, I don't know, little week holiday camps, summer camps kind of style of like taking a couple of days and all coaching each other and just trying stuff like partner coaching each other or individually coaching each other with someone watching in the background and like trying all this kind of stuff and pretending you were already really coaching a client and like really taking it seriously and taking someone to the next level and staying in that coaching role. So for example, what always stands out for me is that I had trouble slowing down at that point, or I had trouble slowing down my energy at that point, whatever. And then both of you made me speak like this Osho guru of like, okay, we're watching this video and this man speaks with like 10-second pauses all the time, which I'm not even going to replicate right now because it feels annoying to do. But then we were playing around with like getting me in that same energy, for example, with like that really calm energy. And it was all experiments like that. It was constantly like trying like, okay, what is it? How can we get someone to, well, ideally like the fully expressed point, but how can we get someone to the next step with as least steps as possible? And like, how can we iterate on our coaching games? So that stands out to me, the relentless experimentation.
Yeah, totally. I feel like play was the biggest word that stood out to me about what you just said there. That I assumed in my head that becoming a coach would be like being handed a script of, this is how you bring someone from 0 to hero. It takes 5 weeks. This is the syllabus. And you'll teach them like this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And actually becoming a coach was very similar in process to improving my speaking. It was all games. It was all, let's try coaching like this. Oh, that worked. Let's try coaching like this. No, that definitely didn't work. Let's not do that again. Let's try like this. And this kind of discovery that there were no rules. Same with speaking, that there are no rules, that you can try speaking instantly and jumping into it. You can try pausing. You can try any method. And it's the same thing with coaching. But for me, ultimately, what I've struggled with this whole journey and what I was still struggling with a little at the end of fundamentals was my confidence. I'm sure you can tell from the way I've been speaking about my speaking and my journey that confidence has been the one thing that has been really, really difficult for me to believe in myself. It changed so much over fundamentals from 0 to the end. Like that was a whole different person. But then I got taken out of the fundamentals context and I got sort of parachuted into this coach context. And suddenly I was coaching from day one. It's a bit like day one in fundamentals when you play a game and you have to start speaking. Day one, you're coaching and there's Pim in front of me and I have to coach him into some kind of version of himself, And the confidence that I had to gain in order to be able to dive into that was really the biggest learning curve for me. It was, how can I, like you literally said it, Pim, earlier, which was, how can you stay in character as a coach even when you're just starting out? And it's exactly the same thing as staying in character and speaking. It's the same feeling. It's just that the challenge got harder because the character I had to stay in was seemingly more important or seemingly more powerful or whatever it was. It was just a test of staying in character. And I've really enjoyed that journey. I don't feel that imposter syndrome that I felt a year ago anymore, but I loved having to challenge that. That's kind of what I was looking for. Getting myself into a situation where I really feel imposter syndrome and trying to stay in character, trying to be confident. That's what I'm still looking for at any moment.
Folks tuning in, please shoot some more questions in the chat about coaching. If you have any questions, we're here to answer them for the next few minutes as well. And there's this common theme that's coming up. And what Ultraspeaking stands for, apart from fun, is reps. Rep after rep after rep after rep. But it's happening in such a short period of time. And what Alienor said in the beginning is that change can happen in a very short period of time. And it was the same for our coaching. When I earlier said we all got slapped in the face, it's because we made so many mistakes when it came to coaching each other. The fact that someone else is speaking is your responsibility now is a lot of pressure that comes into this journey in the beginning. And for us to work on that. And
can I interrupt you? What was your biggest mistake? I'm curious.
Oh my God. Can I get my list? I once had a coaching session where I think I was partnering with Alienor. And the session ended. And we have this thing where we debrief at the end of every session. And when we were debriefing, Alienor and I agreed that the session was great. It was amazing. And what happens in this debrief is that the people that are monitoring our coaching session are seeing how we speak with each other and give us feedback after our debrief. And everyone said that session sucked. I cannot believe that you thought that was a good session. What was good about it? And it was the opposite of what we were thinking in that moment. It showed me a leak in my system. And I frankly had nightmares about that client. For the next week, I was thinking about what I could have done differently. But eventually it became the best gift that I could have gotten. That pain I experienced in that journey of becoming a coach helped me train others and see the missing link in my coaching. Now the question goes back to the two of you actually. What was it for you?
Okay. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about exactly the same situation. Okay, I'm glad you brought it up. So that was a huge pivotal moment for me as well, because I was sitting in the background at that point, and I remember like sharing something like that, kind of like not in a really flattering way, of like that I didn't agree that like the session was good or anything. And for me that was something I normally rarely do, like speaking up in a way of like giving critical feedback or even like negative feedback. So that was like new stuff for me, really scary to me, and therefore also pretty raw to me. That it was part of the reason why it came out like quite unflattering. So at that point, at a later point, I also had a debriefing session about that, of like, okay, well, what was going on there? Like how do I look back on like giving that feedback and talking about that? And that was like, oh, okay, it's good to give critical feedback. It's good to get out of my comfort zone of like saying scarier things and speaking up if I think like something isn't going well, stuff like that. Um, but there's another way of doing it, which makes it like a pleasant experience for the both of us. So it was that very same experience for me of like kind of overshooting in the direction of giving more or speaking up more or speaking up a little bit too much in that sense, and then trying to find my way at the right balance point of like, okay, this is what it's like, good, solid, a bit scary for me, but still good, great to receive feedback from others.
I remember that feedback you gave. I remember because I think you dropped us a text afterwards on our new WhatsApp group, and you were like, guys, I'm really sorry. I hope that wasn't too mean or too forward. And we were like, no, we loved seeing you like that. We go for it, Ferocious Pim. Bring more of that energy into your coaching. I do remember that moment. Bianca has shot a great question in the chat, which is, what was the actual process of becoming a coach? Did you just get thrown in and learn as you go? Or was there some theory, technical training provided as well that you had to then try hands-on? So I'm going to answer that question for you now, Bianca. It was a mixture of both. As with everything Ultraspeaking, it's always very experience-led. So from the first coaching session, we were coaching each other, and we were reaching out to people in the community and trying to see if we could coach them. And when we were going into daily trainings, we were thinking with our coaching mindset and thinking about how we could give feedback in a coaching way. But there was also obviously some theory and technical stuff that we had to learn about, where we're trying to get to with a client, what we're trying to do, what's the best way to bring a client from A to B, these little tips and tricks and things that we didn't really know. And so it's almost exactly like fundamentals, where you have this experience. So you're constantly in the experience, you're constantly speaking, you're constantly coaching, but you also have on the side, you're developing your theoretical knowledge, you're putting it into practice, you're getting this little tidbit of feedback from your fellow coaches or from someone else, incorporating it the next time you try. And then it goes better, or it goes even worse. And so you get some more feedback and you incorporate it. And you grow this bank, both of your experience and of your theoretical knowledge at the same time.
I think we in the beginning had like 5 or so sessions. I don't know, a couple of sessions with the three of us and Michael and Tristan, and those were like 2 or even 3 hour sessions, which were really, really, really intensive. And like we never knew what we were going to do. It was always like, okay, we're probably going to coach one of us, or maybe a client is brought in, and in the beginning there will be a little theory and asking questions about that, but indeed like mostly experience led, so mostly like seeing what's going on inside of our coaching and then giving feedback on the fly, which I loved so much because it was like instant feedback. We were, for example, then partner coaching. Alienor and I were coaching some client, and in the background were Michael and Tristan sometimes throwing in a question in the chat, or like throwing in some little nudge in a direction of like, okay, well, maybe like ask for this question, or go in more, or try to get to that point. And that was so thrilling, because then at some point you're coaching and you're like, yeah, I know that I like need to ask this scary question, or I know that I need to interrupt, or I know that it's getting nowhere. And then that question pops up and you're like, okay, now I have to do it. So it was like getting that instant feedback and instantly iterating in the coaching that wow, was scary and paying off.
Can I flip the question round? We've been talking about our mistakes and about how hard it was to become a coach and how difficult and treacherous and all the times we got it wrong. Was there a moment for both of you, or when was the moment when you realized you were a good coach and you enjoyed it?
It's something we often share with the Ultraspeaking students as well. This is where you think you are, but this is where you actually are. And it was the same with my coaching. This is where I thought I was, but this is where I actually was. And it took me the same thing as we do in Ultraspeaking for fundamentals. It's doing the reps, coaching more. So in the earlier days, Pim, Alienor, and I would reach out to everyone in the community and say, hey, we're training to become a coach. Would it be open to getting coached by us? And the community is so kind and everyone's willing to grow over here at Ultraspeaking that the answer was usually a yes. And when I got that reference experience and I saw that what my beliefs were and what my reality was were completely different, my beliefs and reality started to align. So there's always days where, what is a good coach? Who knows? But for me, it was definitely that moment when I had multiple experiences and then started attending fundamentals, where I realized that, hey, this is what a good coach is like, when we can get someone a breakthrough, when we can take someone from point A to point B and show them that they're actually incredible speakers already. What was it for you, Pim?
So I think like a peak moment from the first weeks or months that we were coaching that I always have really clear in my brain is when I was coaching a client, also in the same way of like reaching out to someone on the in the community and saying like, hey, I'm practicing to be a coach, like can I coach you for a couple of sessions to get some experience in, and then getting into that session. And this particular client was kind of struggling with like showing his energy and showing his enthusiasm. He shared like, I'm incredibly joyful on the inside, but nobody receives that energy from me on the outside when I'm speaking on podcasts, for example. And I remember like going through that session, and maybe this was the second session with him, but I was like really taking him through the entire energy journey throughout the session. And it was such a visceral, like bodily experience for me throughout the session, because I was like in order to help him ramp up his energy, I was also like more and more and more throwing in my own energy in the process. And I was like giving like short energetic speeches, and then he went, and then I went, and then he went, so we were like really building up each other. And at the end he was reaching to a point where it was like, holy shit, like if I can always speak like that, if this is within reach, that would change everything for me. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. I was like out of my mind in joy. So I remember like being really really pleased with that session, and then logging off and just walking around in my living room like, holy shit, I'm so energized, this was such a good session. So that was like always a peak moment for me, because it was just like, wow, I can pour in so much of myself, like every last fiber of my muscles is used in this coaching session. So that was just so much fun of like, okay, if I throw in everything from myself, I'm like pretty good at this.
Love it, love it. I remember hearing about that, Pim. Good flashbacks, good memories from back in the day. Let's take some few questions before we end today. We have another one about coaching from Bianca, which is, are there coaching levels defined for the coaching skills as there are for speaking skills and fundamentals? No, Bianca, we're all amazing coaches. But that being said, it goes back to our speaking and what we mentioned earlier. Every coach has their own unique strength, and we embrace that strength. If you ask each of us to speak about each other when we think of coaching, it will be a completely different answer, yet we're all coaches. So it's hard to define necessarily what a level of coaching is, because it's very unique to each of us in this case. However, the terms of speaking, they apply at a much larger scale at this point, and maybe in the future we might have certain definitions as we get more experience or have more coaches around. But right now, we believe in uniqueness and embrace what we have to share with the world as we go forward into our own coaching. So, folks, I'd like you, Pim and Alienor, for you to answer the next one.
Hmm.
So, I know
Yeah.
Pim kind of just mentioned one of those, but anything stands out to you, Alienor?
There are so many. There are so many. I think I really love this session once that I did with a client who came in and said that she struggled with clarity. She got anxious when speaking and would start to let things sort of carry away with herself, and didn't know how to catch herself when she started rambling. And by the end of the session, we had to have her go on snow globe and then on timer, and she was utterly transformed in the way that she was speaking. From the beginning of the session, which was a bit like how she described, good speaking, but she was holding herself back with her anxiety. It kept sort of coming out and out and out, and she was having trouble stopping. And towards the end, I saw a different person in front of me. But what was cool about that session wasn't the transformation, because sometimes that happens, and then you have to let the person go into the world and hope that they keep it up, hope that when they go into their meeting tomorrow that they'll feel that same thing, they can tap into that energy still. What was really cool about this session was at the end, she said, wow, I didn't realize I could feel like that. That's what stays with me when I'm coaching a client. It's those moments where I've pushed someone not to a technical breakthrough, so not to better speaking technically, which happens as a byproduct. She was speaking amazingly technically, but to a breakthrough in how they feel when they're speaking. And she felt different. She felt more calm. She felt more collected. And I really, really, really enjoyed that session, and it still sticks in my mind. It was about a year ago now, but it still sticks in my mind.
For me, there's always this tiny moment that I remember from a client sharing when I was coaching him for a couple of sessions in fundamentals, that he shared at some point. I always like to ask, like when it's Tuesday in fundamentals, like, oh, did anything speaking related happen to you over the weekend? And then he shared, like, I was hanging out with friends, just one of my best friends or a couple of my best friends. And I think this was the first time in my entire life that I was telling a story to them, telling about an anecdote to them without thinking about it first in my head, without formulating it first in my head. It was a really tiny moment, but it was like, wow, okay, this is like exactly what we're doing it for. Like all these, if you can, this is such a huge change in someone's life. If you can feel more free in that way, that felt so special to hear from a client.
The clients are the ones that give us joy, and it's why we do this and keep showing up again and again to the world of Ultraspeaking. But if we could leave you folks with that one thing, it's because we started all of us started at fundamentals, and it's that course that facilitated this journey for us, and this helped us decide that if this is what it can do for us, then this is what it can do for others as well. And that's why we are here, and we show up every day of the week, not every day of the week, but often. And Ultraspeaking gives us that opportunity to serve this amazing community that we have. But it started at fundamentals, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about as we go into the next section of this live stream, where I'm going to hand it off to Pim and Alienor, and we're going to take a short break as we're going to have some guests coming in to speak about their Ultraspeaking journey, and we're going to dive into what fundamentals is all about. So anyone who has questions about the next upcoming fundamentals cohort or fundamentals in general, or even about daily trainings, stay tuned, shoot your questions in the chat. We'll be answering them. I know we missed a few here and there, so we'll get back to you on that. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in for our journey of becoming from student to coach. We appreciate you all taking out the time for this portion of the live stream, and stay tuned if you're interested in learning more about fundamentals and what's next in fundamentals.
Amazing. It's so great to have the three of us on here, and especially Aman with his wonderful energy leading us through that session. Thank you so much, Aman. I love that. I had so much fun. While we're waiting for the other students to come on in, we can answer Amira's question. So Amira in the chat asked us, how many weeks, months does it take to become a coach? Pim, do you want to answer this one?
Okay, I hope I get this right. So I think the entire process of becoming an Ultraspeaking coach took us like 6 months. And in the beginning, there was like the sessions with Michael and Tristan, and then at some point we were having like sessions with the three of us, and with other Ultraspeaking coaches who were like with Coach Mark and Coach Shelley, for example, and we had to put in like 40 hours of one-on-one coaching to get certified at some point. So there were a couple of things like that, and in the meanwhile, we were already coaching. We were already doing the one-on-one sessions, but just not yet as the certified coach. But the entire trajectory took us like 6 months.
Long and fun journey. What do you think if we tie this all up together before we have, oh, Wendy, welcome.
Hello. Hi, Eleanor, and hi, Pim.
It's good to see you. Hi, how you doing?
I am doing well. It's very good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. Where are you joining us from?
I am joining you guys from Toronto, Ontario. It is currently 1 p.m.
Good time. It is 6 p.m. for me. It must be 7 p.m. for Pim.
That's true. That's true. I'm missing my dinner.
Just love Ultraspeaking that much.
Good to see you again, Wendy. It's we spent a lot of time together in last cohort because I was your board coach at that point. Yeah, so I think that's 3 weeks ago that fundamentals ended, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is like a pretty exciting speaking opportunity of like, oh, being on the Ultra Speaking live stream and suddenly doing this public speaking thing. So how are you feeling about that right now?
Yeah, very much so. This is definitely a really exciting opportunity. To be honest, I'm so nervous right now, but I feel like you've prepared me well. Everybody has prepared me well for this moment. So excited to jump in and answer any questions.
Amazing. We're excited to have you. Shall we start from the beginning? Let's start right at the inception of fundamentals. At the beginning, Aman asked us exactly the same question to me and Pim. I don't know if you managed to catch the beginning of the live stream, but he asked us, how did you find fundamentals? What place were you in your life when you found fundamentals? What were you looking for? And what made you sign up?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I think public speaking was always one of those things that I wanted really badly to master, but also I feel like opportunities come so rare. So prior to that, I've joined Toastmasters and I've been to a couple of courses, but none of them made me stick or like commit to like a program. So I think when I found Ultraspeaking, I think I was going through YouTube videos and I saw videos of you, Eleanor, actually like doing I think it was playing conductor, and it seemed like such a fun experience, and like you told a brilliant story as well. So I thought I would come on, and it was a huge decision process as well. I remember finding it, I think, during the middle of the month, but since there's like a waiting period to join the cohorts, I remember waiting, I think, like a month before like finally committing to the program. And honestly, like it's been the best experience. It's been so fun.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And your experience is shadowing some of the experiences in the chat as well. Earlier on, when I shared my experience, I talked about signing up immediately. And I think we had Bradley in the chat and perhaps Bianca as well, who said, oh, it was a lot more of a thought process for me. It took me a lot of time to commit to it. We've got Kate on as well. Hi, Kate.
Hello,
welcome.
How are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
I'm great.
Kate is also a graduate from the most recent cohort of fundamentals, another one of our many students, and come here to chat about your experience. So did you manage to catch the question we just asked Wendy?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Not to worry, we'll ask it again. I'll ask it better this time. Kate,
yes.
How did you come across fundamentals and what made you want to take it?
So I actually came to fundamentals like a very non-traditional route. I just kind of stumbled into it. But I really I've had a life change recently. I was working for a nonprofit down in Haiti, and I had to move back to the States, but I really wanted to be an advocate for those people there. And yeah, so I just really wanted.
Ooh, I feel like we've lost Kate's audio. Your precious words are not coming across anymore. You're not back. Kate is
Am I
also
back?
at the same time.
Yeah,
you're back now.
you're back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Basically, I just wanted to learn how to speak better to get the people I left behind their story better across, so that I could advocate for them.
And how did that change? Like how you went through fundamentals, and I remember you were like super passionate about it, and like, oh, this is the way of storytelling and stuff like that. Also, what were breakthroughs for you that you saw in the way you could advocate for those people?
I realized that a lot of the things I thought were my weaknesses are actually my strengths. My storytelling, I do very well with storytelling. I just need to worry about the details. Coach Shelley and Coach Santosh were amazing. Shelley always telling me to like get to that moment, and that just really helped me realize how impactful one moment could be. I'm one of those people that I like to get all of the background information in, and I realize that you don't have to have all that background information to be able to speak well and to tell a great story.
Oh yeah, very cool. So Wendy, when Kate was sharing that, like, yeah, what I thought would be my weaknesses were actually pretty much my strengths. I saw you nodding. Like, what was it like for you? Did you recognize yourself in that?
I definitely think so, because I remember during one of the weeks, I've always thought that, I guess in speaking, like you have to had like all of your stories like planned out, kind of like Kate, from like A to B, and like tell it very linearly. Um, so I guess I had the assumption that like taking a breath and like just taking some moment to like really think about the story was definitely a weak point in storytelling, or like a weak point in public speaking. But since experiencing like that huge transition, like taking a breath can actually be a strength, and it can recollect and access different memories. It was really, really eye-opening to see. So I would have to agree.
Was that a breakthrough moment for you? Is there a moment that you remember in the course that you felt differently or felt was an important part of your journey?
In terms of a breakthrough moment, I think it was just during Snow Globe for sure. Um, because I remember with Coach Pim, we were all in the room just trying to come up with a bunch of stories. And I remember there was one moment where I was, during those seconds of countdown, I was trying to think of different stories. And then Coach Pim told me to just forget about all of that and just try to, in that split second, come up with something. And at first I was really hesitant to try it, but it really worked. And I think I was able to access a couple of different memories that I had not planned beforehand, which made it a lot more exciting to tell the story as well.
Okay, I really love that, because yeah, what we're really trying often with Ultraspeaking is to not necessarily get away from all preparation, but kind of give you a lot of freedom and options in preparation. Of like, if you haven't prepared anything, you're still good. You still know how to access your memories. You still know how to speak impromptu and access everything. And if you do have a little bit of time to prepare, like, you can think about some stories that you want to tell, for example. But this is one of the exciting points of like, while speaking, discovering new memories and thinking like, oh yeah, that was exciting, and then talking about that again. So there's also an enjoyable experience for yourself. That's always magical.
What about you, Kate? Was there a moment for you where you felt different?
So ironically, it was kind of funny because the week that we were doing conductor, I was actually in your, we had our festival day where we switched up our coaches, and I was sick that week. Like, you know, those sicknesses you have where you just should be in bed really, but I wanted to power through it. But realizing that I could even do a really amazing job even when I wasn't 100% kind of made me feel empowered, because I knew that even if I wasn't feeling it, like I could still speak well and I could still put my point across and I could still do a good job in the way that I spoke and getting my point across, and that energy level, I could even still have the energy when I wasn't feeling it. And that actually kind of set the pace for the rest of the course. I'm kind of glad that happened early on because it gave me this confidence that, okay, I've done it when it sucks. I can do this even when it doesn't suck. And so let's just do it. And my energy levels when I got better were like way higher. I felt a lot more energetic. I felt more confident going into the games. The snow globe game, which I thought I was going to hate, I actually loved because I had the snow globe game kind of makes you pause and get into those like lower numbers like you would be in conductor, and because I had to practice those with conductor, like it kind of gave this whole new meaning for me. It was very interesting.
I wonder if we should make all our clients sick in the second week to have them experience that feeling of not feeling at your A game and still doing an A game level job. Because for me, that is such an important part of speaking and such an important part of what we do in the fundamentals course. Part of the reason that it is 5 weeks and you get 15 sessions is because you have that time to show up on a day where you're not feeling your best and learn what it's like to practice on those days. Those days are probably the most important days to show up in your speaking, because it's on those days that you train that muscle. Do you want to say something, Kate?
I was gonna say, and Ultraspeaking is addictive enough that you actually still want to show up to it. It's not like, oh, I don't want to do this today. It's like, oh, okay, let's still do this because it's fun, and you get a lot of great feedback from your coaches and your peers.
Let's talk about that for a second, and let's talk about coaches and peers. You guys get put into a pod with 2 other students and 1 other coach. What was the experience like of being in that pod for you guys, where you're going through that journey with your fellow coachees and with your coach?
I loved it. And I loved that we got to be able to be with a whole bunch of different people, like when we mixed it all up one day, because I don't know, by the end of the whole course, you get to know these people, whether it's by one day or by them, you walking with the journey with them every week. And you get to cheer people on. You get to see what their weaknesses and how they become. I've seen people overcome stutters. I've seen people who were painfully shy become these beautiful, eloquent speakers. I love being people's cheerleader, and it's so fun to see not just your own progress, but other people's progress too. And having so many other people there's so many different perspectives on your speaking. It gives you some really awesome feedback.
Did you feel the same way, Wendy? Does your experience overlap, or did it feel slightly different for you?
I would say Kate touched upon a lot of really good points. So I think what was really great about having 2 other members in the pod is I remember when we would each take turns like doing rapid fire analogies, I think in the first week. And we were all just, we would debrief about the session afterwards. So typically, like somebody would go and then we would talk about it for a bit. And then seeing other people go, like giving their best round, and then also talking about like some of the areas that they struggled in, like made me also feel a lot better, especially when I had a lot of the same like concerns as well, or like some of the areas that I wanted to improve on. And yeah, it was just amazing, like seeing everybody kind of like taking that leap and breaking through, having those breakthrough moments. Um, and it was really, really interesting, especially like in the storytelling session where you see different people also tell stories in different ways. And it made me really reflect on how one story could be told maybe 1,000 different ways, and how like immersed I got in the storytelling. Like it actually felt like I was being placed or like transported in their shoes. So that was really exciting and really, really supportive community for sure.
I loved how you're both addressing the point of like it's so exciting and important to see the progress in your peers as well. Because Coach Aman was talking about it earlier in this live stream of like one of the hardest points in your speaking journey, in your progress in speaking, is at some point believing that you're actually here and you think you're still here. You think you're still really struggling beginning, but you made so much progress, but it's hard for you to see. But it's easy for you to see in all the peers around you. So that's all this material for you to start believing like, oh, we as a group and all my peers and me including are making a lot of progress. Yeah.
We're talking a lot about this progress, this mythical progress that we've seen in you guys, in these breakthrough moments and in your peers. I'm wondering if you have a sense of what it is that changed for you guys, what it is that's different now from 5 weeks ago, or at the end of the fundamental course from 5 weeks ago. What was it, do you think, that was the fundamental change for you, Wendy?
I like the pun you added in there. Um, so I think one of the things that was the biggest breakthrough is that I think it's the element of all the games, and it just challenges you to go beyond of what you thought you were capable of. Um, because I did think my level of speaking was down over here, but for some reason with the games, it felt like I could just say whatever that is first to come on my mind. And there also felt like it was less judgment as well, like less of me like internally judging myself, and also saying something funny and then having everybody laugh and knowing that it's going to be okay. Because I think prior experiences to public speaking would be you get up, you hold like a piece of paper, you're presenting, and you're just like reading off a bunch of things, and you mess up suddenly and everybody's laughing, but it's not in a way that's laughing with you, I think. But for some reason, like the games like made it so supportive, and everybody made it so supportive that it's okay to mess up and it's okay to like carry through and take that point and make it into a better story. So I think one of the fundamentals that changed is I'm much more willing to vocalize my opinions and just know that things will be okay despite messing up, and have it be fun and enjoyable as well.
What does that, to quickly ask, like, what does that look like in your daily life currently, that you're more likely to voice your opinion and to speak up and stuff like that?
Um, I think, well, this actually happened recently. So it was a very specific moment. One of my managers, she was doing a walking tour in Toronto, and to admit publicly online that I had no idea what we were going to be talking about, I actually was able to volunteer myself to help give a presentation, even though despite not knowing the content, but also knowing that I would be able to figure it out. So I think it's that level of underlying confidence that is just so helpful.
And what would, because this sounds huge and this sounds really like embodying the ultra speaker, what would your like 5 week earlier self would have thought from that of like before fundamentals? Like, would you have seen that as possible?
Oh, probably not. I probably would have closed down the message chat, like gone out for a walk or something, and then I don't know, replied that I probably can't volunteer for the presentation. So yeah, I think Ultra Speaking has given me a lot of confidence from that front, and I don't think it was possible probably 5 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
One more question for you. I promise we'll stop grilling you in a second. What do you think you're going to do with this newfound confidence? Do you have any goals that you want to achieve or things that you want to try out in your speaking that seemed scary before that seem perhaps a bit more exciting now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I really want to try out improv. Just like presenting and going to a couple of clubs because I've always found that realm also really fascinating, and it seems like off the cuff games as well. But I think prior to this, it was a little bit of a scary like adventure as well. And so yeah, I'm hoping to take that into that realm.
I know that Pim's done some improv, so he's the one to talk to about that. He did the similar journey, I think, Pim, didn't you? You did fundamentals and decided you want to do improv?
Yeah, it was actually at the point where I was starting with coaching training of like, okay, I want to have just more experience with all this weird training in like also in the world outside of Zoom. So that's why I joined improv, which was super scary for me at that point, but also fun because I came there and I had this weird outgoing confidence already because of all the ultra speaking. So I was like way ahead of myself if I had not taken ultra speaking, and that was like really cool to start with such a head start in improv.
Kate, we didn't give you a chance to answer the same question, so please take it away. What was the big shift for you that you think changed things?
I know it's kind of a funny analogy, not really analogy, but like a parallel, but fundamentals is almost like therapy in the sense that when you're going through fundamentals, you have these objectives in your mind to become a better speaker. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to conquer the world. But the coaches actually do such a great job at, encouraging you to be who you actually are. Ultra speaking and fundamentals is not there to turn you into this cookie cutter person of who will just present things well, who will be just like, I can do this, da 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 da. But it's actually just taking who you are as a person and tweaking and refining all these little areas to help you become who you actually are. And so, yeah, becoming more confident in who I am and realizing, oh, I actually am a good speaker. I just need to, work a little bit more in this area and become more confident in this area and, pause and don't let people know that you've messed up and end strong and do all these things. Like there's these little, like, it's not reforming yourself as a person altogether. It's, tweaking who you actually are and becoming more confident in who you are yourself and presenting that into the world. And so that's one of the reasons why I really liked Ultra Speaking. It's that, you don't come out cookie cutters, you come out even more confident, unique people.
I love that saying. You don't come out cookie cutters, you come out confident, unique people. I feel like that embodies everything that Ultra Speaking is about. And it ties so well into what Pim was saying earlier, that Ultraspeaking is about making you more like you. And that would be impossible if we all fit into the same cookie cutter. I'd be very, very surprised. So thank you for that, Kate. That was brilliant. Jamie Banks in the chat, hi Jamie, says, go for it with improv, Wendy. I think it'll increase even more that confidence and expressing stronger opinions. So you've got the support of the Ultraspeaking crew, Wendy. We'll be looking out for you. Kate, I'm going to ask you the same question that we asked Wendy, which is, what's your next challenge, do you think? Now that you've found this confidence and you found this more you version of you, what do you think you have the freedom to do?
This is a very good question. Like I said before, I have the advocacy. But the ironic thing is, since I've finished fundamentals, I've had more opportunities to practice my skills on children. With teaching and with presenting things. I thought I was going to be presenting to all these adults. But it's been really fun, like joining the daily trainings and getting wisdom from Michael there, and applying wisdom from that and wisdom from the fundamentals course into, speaking for children, which is totally different, by the way. It's a lot of fun, and I see my next steps as just becoming more involved in the Ultraspeaking community and just refining the skills and, encouraging other people to join along the way and advocate. So.
Well,
So
we'd love
quickly,
to hear that.
what's the big difference when speaking for kids?
Your conductor has to always be at like 8 and above. Especially for the ages of kids I'm speaking to. So yeah, it's pretty fun. A really fun thing, it's like a side thing, something that Mike was talking about in a daily training recently, was student-led learning, which is a bonus why you should do daily trainings, because you get little tidbits of things you can use in your life. And I've actually been applying that student-led learning in dance classes that I've been doing. And let me tell you, my kids, they are learning so much faster with the speaking and with the leading. And it's really, really cool just to see how it can be applied in a way that I wasn't really expecting to apply my skills. So.
Amazing. I will call on you when I have kids, Kate, and you'll be able to help me. You'll be able to help me talk to them. So thank you. Let's finish with a question that Aman asked us in a variation again earlier. For anyone who's watching this live stream who's not really sure about fundamentals, Pim and I are going to go over the syllabus in a sec, so we'll explain what's in it. Don't worry about explaining that. But what would you say to someone who's watching this and not sure? Maybe Wendy, what would you say to yourself when you were in that month of decision period of whether or not you would take fundamentals?
I think I would definitely say that it's 100% worth it. Like the growth and transformation through these like past 5 weeks, which I didn't think was possible, is fully possible. And it's also really cool because everything is also within you yourself as well. And Ultraspeaking like gives everybody this platform to bring that sense of self that's already within you and to empower you and to have like a community. And it's just really, really empowering to be in a group of people who all want to strive for the same thing. And I think the progress is just amazing, and you learn so much along the way, and you meet so many interesting people along the way as well. So I would say definitely don't hesitate, do it 100%. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm clipping that out and putting it on the website on the fundamentals thing. As soon as you click on fundamentals, you'll get your face. Don't hesitate. Do it. It'll change your life. Kate, what about you? What would you say to the version of yourself or to someone watching?
I think I would say that fundamentals is one of those things that if you're on the edge of doing it, just go ahead and dive in, because you're going to change. Like I said before, you have these expectations, but you're going to meet those and higher, or you're going to realize that you're actually a great speaker and you just need to refine yourself. Yeah, just if you're on the edge, dive into the deep end, go as deep as you can.
We've got a swimming analogy from Kate. We'll add that one onto the website too. Guys, I could chat to you all day about fundamentals. I genuinely could, and I would love to. But I think we're out of time for here now on the live stream. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I really, really enjoyed chatting to you and hearing about your experience of fundamentals. And people in the chat did also. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Coach Pim and I are going to explain a little bit about the fundamentals course now. We're going to go through a little bit of the syllabus and what the fundamental course actually looks like, because we've heard from Wendy and Kate telling us what their experience was, but we haven't yet told you what it actually is. But first, before we do that, we had a wonderful question from Bradley in the chat for you, Pim. You were talking about taking improv. And Bradley wrote in the chat, what's your next challenge, Pim? TED Talk 2022?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago we were doing coach training. Every 2 weeks we are meeting with most of the coaches, and like some of us is leading the training, and we're trying to like discover new edges of our own speaking and stuff like that, and trying to like not stick around too much in our own speaking comfort zone. And at some point I realized, like, wow, to be like really honest, I haven't really played the games much lately. Like I'm still coaching, I'm going in there, I'm sometimes giving demonstrations and all stuff like that, but I haven't really been training. And then Tristan asked me like, that you said to me like, that's probably because you might not have a goal in mind currently for speaking, something that you're training towards currently. And that hit me hard. It was like, oh yes, because this was always so true when I was a fundamental student myself. I had this clear goal of like getting to the point of like breaking out my comfort zone and like and stuff like that. And when I was a coach, I had the goal of like becoming a better coach during coach training. And so at that point I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe something comes up, or I don't have something to train for a while, and like something will arise further. But lately I've been thinking like that I want to actually in the direction of improv, take improv to the next level, because I've been like taking beginners courses and practicing around with my peers, and to be honest, I'm enjoying it so much. And also there are a lot of scary points in it for me as well, of like it still feels like this personal growth journey of like, oh, taking the lead in a scene is really scaring for me, and improving in that really pays off in other areas in my life. So I kind of not so much interested in TED Talks right now, and more in improv performances right now, and really getting more on stage. That so I'm really lucky that recently, last week, I was asked to join the show group of our improv community in my city. So it's going to happen.
Watch this space, guys. Coach Pim is going to become an improv. What's the extraordinaire? An improv extraordinaire. It'll happen. I cannot wait to hear more about this story. Thank you for that question, Bradley. That was a great question. We're going to give you a little overview of what the fundamentals course really looks like now. We're going to dive into what the syllabus is, what you'll actually be doing, the fun, the games, the coaching, all of that. The first place we'll start. Well, why would you join the fundamentals course? Right? You join the course because We've been talking about this all live stream. In the position that Wendy was in, or in the position that Kate was describing, or that I was describing, or Pim was describing. The course is designed to get you to cover the fundamentals of speaking, to take you across all the basics, to give you a firm grasp of not only the skill set required to become a good speaker, but also, like you've seen in our interviews with Wendy and with Kate, the mindset, the confidence, that shift that it takes to become a good speaker. So that is what the course is about. Pim, do you want to tell us a little bit about the structure of the course? How many sessions,
So
how long?
to tie into that, what you're really looking for in Ultraspeaking fundamentals is not so much like becoming this great speaker, but how we like to put it is like great speakers are great recoverers. We kind of want to train this like bulletproof mindset in you of like, yeah, I know that giving a presentation when I only had like I don't know 30 minutes to prepare or 5 minutes to prepare, or speaking up in a discussion at the family table, or whatever it is that you're looking for to improve in. We're showing you, which you probably already know, that these are all very chaotic environments and chaotic contexts and chaotic situations of like you're speaking and you're thinking about what to say next, and then you're suddenly blank, which is like happening to everyone, and you don't know how to deal with that, and then you start stuttering and all stuff like that. So speaking is chaotic. Impromptu speaking especially is really chaotic. Fundamentals is teaching you all how to get a little bit more comfortable in that. And I say a little bit because it always is going to be uncomfortable at some points, because that's the fun part of like it is always discovering something new, getting out of your comfort zone. And Ultraspeaking fundamentals is showing you how to navigate that complexity and that chaos, and showing you that it's pretty fun to be in. So the way we structure this is a 5-week course. And in those 5 weeks, we, among other things, are going to take you through like the 10 tenets of Ultraspeaking, which are all these tiny mindset lessons. We're meeting 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and you show up to class. Maybe you got an email with some preparation article that you could read through, or a podcast to listen to, or a video to watch, and then you show up to class, and from that point is basically all play. We are gathering in the main room with like 20 students and 5 coaches or something like that, and one of us is leading it and talking a bit about what we're going to do today. Then you head off into the breakout rooms for 30 or 45 minutes with one coach for every 3 students. And then you just play. Like we have all these Ultraspeaking games and you make silly analogies, or you give tiny speeches and the coaches give you feedback. You give feedback to your peers. It's very, very experiential based learning. So low on theory and very high on practicing the actual thing you want to get better in.
And it's so much fun. And we can say this because we've taken it. I love coaching fundamentals, but I still love playing the games, and I still love any opportunity I can to join in with the pod and start playing with them. It's just so much fun. I want to explain a little bit about the syllabus that we've devised. So it's a 5-week course, like Pim has already said, which means each week is broken down into a different skill set. So the first week, week 1, is confidence. The second week is musicality. The third week is silence. 4th week, storytelling. And 5th week, graduation week, where it all goes nuts and we bring everything together and challenge you to your maximum and show you that you have the skill set it takes to be a good speaker. So what's Confidence Week, Pim? Talk to me about Confidence Week.
confidence week is like really the foundation of everything I was talking about, with like this impromptu chaos that you have. The point we want you to get to in the first week is to realize on a like deep inner level that what you're experiencing on this side as a speaker is very different from how the audience is seeing you, because all the impromptu chaos is happening inside of your head. You're seeing the stuff like, oh, I don't know what to say next, I'm blanking. But for example, if you're blanking, to the audience it just seems like you're taking a pause. So in the first week is this huge mindset shift of like, what if that's true? What if I'm blanking and I'm actually treating it as a pause? What if I don't know what to say and I know that that's just part of it, and I know that something will come up, or I know that I will just start speaking in some other direction if nothing comes up? We're giving you these tools to navigate the complex scales and to, on the outside, always seem confident, even when on the inside you're erroring and your brain is totally blanking and stuff like that. And you can use that all the time in the rest of speaking and in the rest of ultra speaking. We call this principle staying in character.
I've been watching a lot of ballet recently. Don't ask me why, but my YouTube leads me down these holes sometimes, and that's where it's led me. And it reminds me a lot of what you're saying there. These artists are doing something incredibly physical. They're holding up their legs in positions that I couldn't dream of holding my leg up on, and doing the splits and jumping around. But the way they're doing it is totally in character. They must be in all kinds of confusion and chaos and pain inside, thinking about where to put their foot next and where to jump and where to fly. And I don't even know what all the things they think about are. I can't even imagine it. But the way that they present themselves comes across so smooth, so calm, so serene. I have so much admiration for what they do. And it just reminded me what you were saying. That's kind of what we're teaching, that what you're feeling on the inside isn't necessarily what we are seeing on the outside. And that is week one, confidence.
Wow. Okay. So thanks for this example. This is actually a very, very intuitively good example of watching something that just seems like perfection, magical perfection on the outside, and you just think like, well, in their minds it must be like perfection as well. They must be like super calm, meditative state, and like dancing around, and everything is fine because I'm seeing this. But yeah, that's like for sure not happening inside of their heads. But they know how to display this air of confidence, and yeah, that's magical.
Yeah, I took a few ballet classes as a kid, and let me tell you, I was not feeling those things inside, but I suspect I wasn't looking like them either. So I think the moral of the story is there's a long way to go for me.
So, but that ties into a really good point, because in speaking, you can be like this top ballet dancer from the very first day. Not necessarily the elite, like you're not this like public speaker in front of 20,000 audience members, but you are really, really great already, because you are really great when you're just speaking when you're hanging out with your best friends, or when you're, maybe it's for you when you're with your parents, or whatever it is for you. But you have moments in your life or contexts in your life where you are already your most confident self. And our job in the first week is to show you how to get there while under the pressure of a set of strange eyes that you don't know, or while under the pressure of game elements and words that you have to tie into your speech, whatever. But that confident state that you already know, and getting into that. So you start from a really advantaged point in speaking.
Yeah, in speaking, you are already a prima ballerina. You just have to believe it. Let's talk about the games for a second, because each week is supported by a different game that we use. So in the first week, we lean a lot on rapid fire analogies. That's the game we use to unlock your confidence. So maybe we can give a little demo of what rapid fire analogies looks like right now and talk about how this helps you with your confidence. So Pim, I'm just going to give you 8 rounds of rapid fire analogies. Pim is going to get 2 words coming up on the screen, and he's going to complete the analogy on the fly. He hasn't seen these before.
Friendship is like artificial intelligence because it can be so rich. A calendar is like expired pickles because it's pretty lame. An engine is like Americans because they're pretty cool. Marijuana is like saying goodbye because you say goodbye to your lungs. Texting is a mic like a microphone because it's all a mess. Unicorns are like blue cheese because they smell weird. A TED Talk is like tantric yoga because you stretch in all kinds of positions. The internet is like Apple products because it's also shiny in all those corners. So what I like about this is that it's kind of like an improvised ballet dance. It's kind of like improvised dancing, but it's saying to you like, well, you're going to say weird things, you're going to make silly poses, but can you do it in a way that you radiate confidence? You don't know what's going to happen, but can you just pretend? And I don't really like to put it as pretending, but that's a perfect first step to like in the beginning just fake it till you make it for the first time, because then after a couple of iterations you notice like, this isn't necessarily fake, this is just me activating confidence, this is just me showing up as more confident, and maybe this is even me showing up as more of myself than I do when I'm like, constantly doubting myself and stuff like that.
Yeah. I love that we're trying to carry this ballet analogy through the whole thing, and I think we're going to try and do it. So we're going to turn the pianist on, and we're going to move into musicality week. Musicality week. Musicality week is week 2. It's the week where we show you that you can express your emotions. So in the first week, we've given you a baseline of confidence. We've given you the ability to mess around, try the weird move, point your toe in a weird way, whatever it is we're doing. Play these rapid fire analogies games and play them with confidence. In week 2, we add feeling in. We add varying the way that you speak, varying the way that you express yourself. This week is a great week for people who believe that they struggle with a monotone, or struggle with expressing themselves, or especially for people who say, I'm not usually the kind of person who gets excited, or I'm not usually the kind of person who gets angry. I'm more of a baseline, calm, collected kind of person. In this week, we challenge you to challenge that. We challenge you to go to a place that feels a little bit uncomfortable, to try out a new version of you. Because what we're trying to do is to round you out as a speaker. We're trying to give you all the tools in your toolbox to become the most expressive version of you that you want to be. So if you want to be angry, you can be angry. You want to be calm, you can be calm. You want to be excited, you want to be thoughtful, whatever it is, you can turn this on at command. That's what this week is teaching you. And the way we do it is with a game called Conductor.
Which is so important for all of us, because musicality isn't only about like I'm speaking monotonous and I want to have more range. It's also what it was like for me, for example. It's also I'm speaking with a lot of energy and I'm constantly like super hyped in my speaking and super intense. And I also want to explore my other side in speaking. Because contrast, what we see is what really makes for engaging speaking, is what really makes you super interested, which is true in music as well, but it's true in speaking in the sense that you just grab the attention of the audience so much if you're constantly hyped, and then at some point it's just calm and silence and getting more serious and maybe feeling into that as well. And it would all be a mistake to look at that from the outside and think like, okay, so at some points I need to like speak with a high pace and almost scream, and at other points I need to lower my voice and stuff like that. It's not about that. It is about that, but it's not about that. It is about what's happening on the inside. And that's like Alienor was talking about, what you're feeling, what you're saying, how you're feeling, what you're saying. And musicality comes from contrasting feelings, because there are always so much sides to each story you're talking about. Like you're talking about this anecdote that you were doing just simply groceries, and maybe something was really frustrated, but you also saw this cute puppy when you walked out. Like that's just fun to include all that in your speaking, because it is more real. Speaking isn't one-sided because life isn't one-sided. And that's why, by feeling into the contrasting feelings in your story, it all gets so super engaging.
Wow, speaking isn't one-sided because life isn't one-sided. That segues us really well into week 3. Week 3 is about the ultimate contrast. It's about silence. Week 3, we like to call it breakthrough week, because it's where we introduce you to the breath. So you have this musicality now. You have this ability to express yourself. You've played with different versions of you. You've played with contrast in your speeches, with starting off excited and ending sad, starting sad and moving in the middle and being different versions of yourself. But now we're taking that in a step up. We're taking it to speaking and then pausing. Speaking, pausing, speaking, pausing, speaking, pausing. And we do that over and over and over again. In this week, we're really trying to give you freedom. We're trying to give you the freedom not only to be comfortable in a pause, not only to be comfortable in silence, but also the freedom to speak about whatever you want to speak about. Because with every pause, every breath, every little momentary stop, you have a chance to start afresh. You have a chance to go in a completely different direction. You have a chance to go back on what you just said or carry on with it. You get a breath to get a bit of clarity. And that's what Silence Week is really about.
And just like it's giving you clarity as the speaker, it's such a treat for everyone listening to you, because for once they can actually keep up with your speaking and actually comprehend what you're saying. What I noticed, and this is kind of a funny thing that I discovered in the Silence Week as well, was like, wow, I often have a really hard time following what people are speaking about if they're just constantly speaking. And I always thought like, okay, that's like, I need to pay more attention. But when people speak with more open space and take more pauses and leave more room, then it's just so much easier for me to follow. And maybe other people can like follow even the quick speakers, and I'm just like not really fast in that sense in listening. But I suspect this is true for a lot of other people as well. Of like, it's just hard to follow, and the audience is just sitting there pretending like they're following you, and then there's actually this disconnection. Almost always when you feel really disconnected from your speaking yourself, there's probably some same sort of feeling going on in your audience, of like, whenever you really lost your thread, chances are high that your audience is also distracted. So if you just take a pause at moments like that, you grab the attention again and you become present yourself again, you're all happy again.
I really want to mention the game Snow Globe and the way that we teach pausing, because I feel like ever since I was conscious of what speaking is, I've known that you should speak with a pause, that people should speak slower, that it sounds better. People have been telling me this for a very, very long time. It's not one of those niche little tricks and tricks that we give you that people go, wow, I've never heard of that. The pause, the breath is a standard 101 speaking tip and trick. What's different, or what's interesting about it, is that if you're anything like me, you've known this for ages and ages, but it still wasn't happening. Like, I knew that I had to pause, but I still, in the moment, would get really anxious and worried and forget about it. Or I would be worried about pausing because I didn't want to be interrupted, or I didn't want to feel silence, or something was holding me back. I would just forget. And so this week, Silence Week, is super, super important because we make you experience the pause. We make you play a game called Snow Globe, which basically has about 20 seconds of speaking, and then you get the word breathe coming up. 20 seconds of speaking, and then the word breathe. And that's because you can pause for a lot longer than you think you can. We want you to feel what it feels like to take a really uncomfortably long pause, and then realize that it's actually going pretty well. That's the experience we're pushing for in Silence Week. It's not just the knowledge of the pause. It's not just knowing that you need to take a breath when you're speaking. It's actually experiencing what it feels like to take a breath when you're speaking, and how that changes your speaking, and how that changes the feedback from the people around you.
After Snow Globe Week, we go into week 4, Storytelling Week. And at Ultraspeaking, we say storytelling is really easy. It's just something that needs to click for you, and then you know how to tell stories. So, Coach Alienor, can you tell a little story in the way we do it in Ultraspeaking about something that happened to you in the last couple of days?
So I'm doubled over. I've got my arms out in front of me. My feet are strapped into this contraption, and there are these springs sliding underneath me, going back and forth. And I am in agony. I can feel my left side like as if it's been stabbed repeatedly over and over again, just down the left side of my body. I've never felt this before. I've never felt this absolute searing pain. I have got myself in trouble. I signed up for a Pilates class that was way too hard for me. I'm surrounded by 9 other fit, trim, toned women, and a Pilates class coach who is coaxing us, telling us, we can do it, you can do it. You're working those obliques, those slim toned muscles. You're going to get there. And I have never felt worse about myself in my life. I can see them shooting up and down this machine with the springs and, contorting themselves and using their core in an incredible way. And they look effortless to me, like ballet dancers. They look utterly otherworldly. And I feel like a slug trying to get myself home. It's impossible. I will never take an advanced Pilates class again.
Amazing. Okay, love it. So what we're doing in Storytelling Week, and we're almost at the end of the session, so I'm going to be quick here, is just getting back to that very moment that you're talking about. So not summarizing it, or not talking about it in an abstract way, not analyzing anything, just being there and reliving the moment and blowing your own mind again by what's happening. In that way, the audience can relive it too.
Reliving the moment is such a key part of what we talk about in Storytelling Week. And it becomes a key part of what happens in graduation week as well. In graduation week, we bring it all together. We bring these 4 core skill sets that you've learned and all that mindset work that we've done, and ask you to step up. We ask you to start believing that you've actually got everything you need. It's like Wendy and Kate were describing earlier. They realized that actually they just needed to have that confidence to be themselves. And in week 5, we just ask you to be that confident person. We test you. We try out your limits. We might do some really weird storytelling or some extra pausing or whatever it is you need. We'll try some funky games in there. But week 5 is about showing you that you are the speaker that you think you are. You're a better speaker than you think you are. And that is ultimately what the fundamentals course is all about.
Amazing, amazing. So we're at the end of today's live stream. Thank you all very much for watching. Where, if you've grown enthusiastic about fundamentals and you want to see more information about this or even enroll for this, where can you find that information, Alienor?
Yeah, so if you go to the Ultraspeaking website, ultraspeaking.com/fundamentals, then you will find the fundamentals course. I'm sure we can drop a link in the chat, or here we go, it's coming up on the screen. Isn't that magic? I just click my fingers and it happens. ultraspeaking.com/fundamentals. The enrollment for the course is open now, so you can sign up for the course and have your life changed in the matter of 5 weeks. It's that simple. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a blast. I know I did.
Yeah,
we'll see you guys very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.